Good evening. If everyone could take your seats, please, we're just about to begin. Well, thank you all for coming this evening. I know there's many other things you could be doing on a Monday night in August, so I appreciate you coming in tonight. My name is Jeff Taylor, and I'm very fortunate to be the Assistant Superintendent in the North Hills School District. Tonight, I want to spend a little bit of time talking to you about our Project Connect program in 6th grade, and then I'm going to dismiss you by your teacher's classroom down to the cafeteria downstairs so you can pick up your child's iPad. It should be a very quick and easy process for you, so I just have a few slides to go over, and then I will answer some questions at the end. If you have any individual questions, you can come up and certainly ask those to me. When we started Project Connect a few years ago, we had this idea that we wanted students to be digitally literate, and we wanted them to think critically. And we wanted them to use technology as a tool for doing so. So our mission statement for Project Connect is preparing globally competitive students for college and career readiness. And then we have our vision statement, which is basically looking at opening the world to our students using technology. We have 4 goals for Project Connect. And in 6th grade, this is where these goals start, and then they go into 7th, 8th, and 9th grade as we continue to move up in the grades with Project Connect, where every student has an iPad. The first goal is we want students to be communicating, collaborating, thinking critically, and being creative, using technology as that instructional tool to get them places they may not have been able to go without that tool. We want students to be able to personalize their learning through ownership, choice, and reflection. We want to enhance their curriculum by allowing students to differentiate their learning through the iPad. So if a student has difficulty reading, we can adjust that reading level on the iPad. If they're an advanced reader, we can offer more rigorous reading on the iPad. So really to truly personalize their learning. And lastly, we want students to partake in project-based learning to provide authentic, real-world experiences, and we can certainly do that with technology. So one of the questions I'm sure many parents have are, how are these iPads used as instructional tools in your children's classrooms? First, it is the core component of the 6th grade English Language Arts curriculum. We have a program called Study Sync. And Study Sync is their entire English Language Arts program in 6th grade on that iPad. So most of their assignments, their reading assignments, their writing assignments, interactive activities, videos, little clips that show them how to do things, everything is on the iPad for that ELA curriculum. We also want them to do project-based learning. So we're going to be using different kinds of apps on the iPad to allow us to do that, both productivity apps and creation apps. And certainly we want access to all those library resources, those rich databases, and all those ebooks and research at their fingertips no matter where they are. Using that tool allows them to do so. Our Study Sync program is a very comprehensive program for English Language Arts. One thing that makes it very special for North Hills is that it allows students to look at something more than one time. So if they miss something in the classroom, they can actually watch video clips of things in the evening at home to kind of review that information with them. So if they need to watch it 3 times before it kind of gets in their mind, they can do that. And many times without that technology, that tool, they weren't able to do so. So I think that's really important for students. It has all the different aspects you can think of your typical English Language Arts curriculum. It's just all on that iPad. When we talk about project-based learning, one of the things you have to be able to do in the 21st century is use productivity tools with technology. So the productivity suite that we've chosen in our school district is the Google Apps Classroom. So we have Google Docs for word processing, we have spreadsheets, presentations. They can store all their files digitally in Google Drive, they have a calendar, and they all have their own individual Gmail address so they can interact with each other as well as their teacher. We also have apps installed on the iPads for creativity. We want them to take their content knowledge and apply that in new and innovative ways. So there are apps such as Poplet and Prezi, Book Creator, Photobabble. These are all ways students can take content instead of just writing a normal paragraph, which they will do in their curriculum, but now they can create projects that allow them to be creative and show their mastery of their knowledge in different ways. Some reminders about student responsibilities, and these are some highlights from that very big, thick packet I mailed all of you a few weeks ago. But in the student responsibilities, this is used as an instructional tool, and it's really important for students to understand that, and parents as well, because I know that if you have younger children, you're used to an iPad or an iPhone or a mobile device in general, and they play on that all the time. They play games. You let them watch Netflix in the restaurant to keep them quiet sometimes. I understand that. I have a 9-year-old. But this is truly an instructional tool. It's configured as an instructional tool. So in a few moments, I'll explain to you what that looks like so that you know that it's not going to be something to be playing games on all day. We ask students to treat them with care. It's extremely important that they recharge them every single night. They have to get in that habit of charging them every single night so that they have a full charge for the next day. They want to make sure they bring that to school every single day. And it's important to remind your children, do not share your accounts or passwords with anyone, obviously except for parents. So we don't want them to share them with their friends or other people because that can cause problems. Parent reminders, you want to make sure you supervise your students' use at home. I think a lot of times when students have access to technology and they know no one's looking over their shoulder every now and then, sometimes they do things they shouldn't be doing. So I ask parents if you could just make sure that every now and then you're randomly supervising your children online and making sure they're being safe. Discuss family values and expectations regarding internet use at home. Everyone's family has different values, and it's important that you delineate those for your children so they understand what your expectations are. Ensure the student recharges again nightly. That's something you can remind, especially the first couple of weeks of school, until the student gets used to that habit of recharging every night themselves. We ask the parents kind of remind them, like, did you charge your iPad yet? Is it charging? Because it takes about 21 days before that turns into a habit for a student in 6th grade. So we want them to constantly be reminded of that. And then obviously, if you see any damages, please report those to the school immediately using the iPad damage report form, which was in your packet, that big packet I sent you, or we also have that on our website. You can download that as well there. In terms of restrictions, this is why I say this is an instructional tool and not just for fun and games, because we have restricted the use of FaceTime, Siri, photo streams, gaming center, TV, movies, changing Apple accounts, social media, and music. Those are not accessible on your children's iPads from the school because we want them to focus on instruction and not focus on other things. There is some allowed content that's restricted to age-appropriate content, such as websites and news and books, but nothing explicit is allowed in there because we have filters in place where they can't get to those kinds of things. But certainly, there might be some things they use in their classroom with iTunes University, or they might choose to download a book or a novel. Oh, sorry about that. I keep having iCloud problems here. In terms of e-safety and iPad management, we're using something very interesting this year called Apple Classroom. And Apple Classroom is a way for a teacher to manage all the iPads in his or her classroom. It's really, really an efficient tool. The iPads are filtered all the time at school, and we monitor their screen time at school, and we ask you to do that at home. And then also, make sure you have nighttime routines in your family. What does that mean? Well, I've heard parents say at night they take the iPad and they charge it in their bedroom so the child doesn't have access to it at bedtime. So whatever those nighttime routines are for you and your family, what works best for you, set those up and identify those for your family. We make some recommendations on lock screens, and this makes it easier for not only you as a parent, but it also makes it really easy for our teachers and our principals and our staff members to help your child if they misplace their iPad or if they're having trouble getting into their iPad. So these are the recommendations for your lock screen password. We recommend using the same 4 digits you use in your cafeteria code. That way your child remembers the passcode and you know the passcode. And then the school district, if we have to look it up, we can certainly look that up in the cafeteria system if we need to look that up. So here's your passcode screen on an iPhone, but then also the lock screen wallpaper. You can set your lock screen wallpaper, and I would suggest telling your child to take a selfie, because what happens if they misplace their iPad and they put it down somewhere and you don't know the passcode, as soon as someone picks that iPad up and they touch the screen, they're going to see that. And they know, oh, this belongs to Lindsay, so I'm going to take it to Lindsay. Or they take it to the office, and the office looks at it and says, oh, I know who that is, instead of just seeing a random screen with putting in 4-digit code. So I'll remind the 6th grade teachers to show their children how to do the lock screen selfie, so your children can do that at school, but I would recommend you do that. I mentioned before Apple Classroom. Apple Classroom is a tool that we're using. So if this is, for example, the teacher's iPad over here on the left, you can see all the faces of all the students in her class. And then you can see these very small icons. That tells the teacher what app that student has open and is using. And then what they can do is they can just click on this little screen here, and automatically it pulls up that child's iPad screen on the teacher's screen. So they can tell exactly what's going on at all times. Teachers can see the student activity on the screens. They can immediately put whatever on the student screen on Apple TV, so it projects on a projector like we have here today. So if they have a really great example of a math problem or a great example of a writing prompt, they can hit 2 boom, boom, boom buttons, and it's on the screen for everyone to see. They can do a remote control and launch an app or a website on every single student's iPad all at once. They can reset their students' passwords, and they can also control which apps students have access to during class. So if, for example, a teacher says, you know what, I don't want students taking selfies during class time, they can disable the camera, so the students can't use the camera during their class. Now, one of the things I asked you to do prior to coming in today was either to accept or decline our school's insurance program for the iPads. This program is not a North Hills School District insurance. We are partnering with Arthur J. Gallagher. It's been around since 1927. They have been a leader in this kind of insurance for public schools for many, many years. They are highly reputable. We had 0 problems since we started using them about 1.5 years ago. So it is $35 for 1 year of coverage. And you can see on there was a cheat sheet I gave you in your packets that has all the deductibles. But basically, it's $25 for the first occurrence, anywhere for $500 to $600 for subsequent occurrences. So basically, all the way up to the cost of the price of the iPad if you take your iPad and you purposely are throwing it on the concrete for some reason. All the repairs have to be completed by our North Hills School District Technology Department, and that is helping us with the warranty. So we ask, do not take it to the mall and have someone repair your screen there for you. Instead, let our in-house people take care of that. So what is covered under the insurance? Accidental damage, so if someone is hitting the home button and it breaks, or the spring breaks in there or something, that's covered. If you crack your screen, if there's a fire, lightning, liquid damage, electrical surge, and theft of the device with a police report. If you have a police report, we'll accept that, and that is covered. What is not covered is if you lose a device and you don't have a police report, you left it somewhere and you don't know where it's at. Now, we will try and find it for you because we have a system on it where we can't tell exactly the exact location, but we can tell very close to where that's at. So if it is lost, we'll try and work with you to figure out where that is, because we'll have location services turned on so we can determine, the general area where it's located. And then obviously what's not covered is if you're willfully abusing it. If you take it and you're throwing it against the wall, obviously that's not going to be covered in the insurance policy. This is a screenshot of the cheat sheet that you have in your packet, and it just kind of goes over what's covered by insurance, by your deductible, and if you don't have your insurance deductible. One thing I get asked a lot is, why can't we do outside insurance companies? So I want to explain this and make sure this is very clear to everyone. Because as a school district, this is not the individual student's property, it's the school district's property. That being said, the district will not work with outside insurance providers for phone calls or paperwork or any kind of verification or anything like that, because we have our own insurance. Now, I will tell you, I can't stop you for putting it on your homeowner's insurance, obviously. So if you choose to do that, that's completely up to you. You would have to work with your insurance company on your own. We would not be a part of that as a school district, but you can do that if you wish. It's just that we will have no part of that conversation with the other insurance company. But I obviously wouldn't be able to stop you from doing so. There is a troubleshooting and frequently asked questions part of our website. And everything you want to know about your iPads in this program, if you go to academics on our main page and then Project Connect, that will give you a bunch of information that will be helpful for you. And before I go into all the next steps, there's 2 more things I want to go over with you. So I'm going to go back to this in 1 second, because 2 questions I get all the time. So I'm going to hopefully preemptively ask these questions for you. The first question is about iPad covers. If you have not seen the district-provided iPad cover, it is a red, very, very bright red rubber cover that goes around the entire iPad. But it does not have, some people prefer the kind that has a flap that covers the screen. It does not have that flap. It does not have that screen coverage. So what I have been told people is, if you wish to purchase another screen protector of some kind, that is completely up to you. It's optional. You don't have to do that. Some parents prefer to do that. It's just up to you as to whether or not you buy something like an OtterBox that's maybe a real high quality one or not. But if you buy one and it's not as durable as the one that we have provided you, and then it gets broken, then you're going to have to explain that to the principal and file a report with the insurance company. And they will decide whether or not it was appropriate or not to pay for that damage. However, I know a lot of people have asked, can I put a new OtterBox on? Absolutely, it's not a problem. When you return the iPad in the spring, you will have to return that red cover with it though. So you'll keep the OtterBox at home for the summer. The other thing I wanted to mention was, I know some parents in 6th grade especially, they're concerned, rightfully so, that how do you monitor your students' use at home? With Apple Classroom, it's very easy for us to do that here, but we can't have that in the home. So I am by far not recommending any specific products. I don't have any kind of stock with anybody, but I will tell you that I've looked into this product. It's called Circle with Disney, and I think this is probably a very good product for those of you who are concerned about your child's usage of internet or the iPad at home. You can get this on Amazon for $89, but it tracks everything your child does on their iPad, and it's extremely easy to use. So you can see your child's screen time, you can see what they're doing on your screen, you can see what apps they're using, you can block certain things, you can tell them they can't use this app, they can't use that app. If you don't want them using YouTube at home, you can do that and turn it off at home. So there's a lot of power as a parent. Again, this is the only one that I saw that I thought was really user-friendly, so that's why I'm telling you about it. It's up to you whether you want it. It's completely optional. I just know some parents have been asking me over the last year what they can do to help manage their child's screen time. So the next steps, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call and dismiss parents in groups by your classroom teacher's name. As I do that, if you have a question, please feel free to stay and come up and ask me a question. I'll be more than happy to help you out. If it's something you think is more appropriate on a one-on-one, come on up. If you think it's something that everyone needs to hear, that's fine as well. But I don't want to hold everyone back from getting their iPads with questions. So hopefully you won't have too many for you. So what will happen is when I call your name, your teacher's name, you're going to go up. Now, if you have your red ticket, that means you turned in your 4 pieces of paper and you have either accepted or declined your insurance. So that red ticket gets you your iPad. So what you're going to do with your red ticket is you're going to go out these doors, make a right. You're going to see a stairwell on your right. You're going to go down the steps. There'll be people to direct you to the cafeteria. In the cafeteria, there are tables for each of the 4 elementary schools with signs above the tables. You're going to go to your elementary school's table, tell them your child's name with a red ticket. They will give you an iPad in an envelope. On the other side of the cafeteria, there are other 4 more tables with names. You'll take your iPad over to the table that says your elementary school's name. There'll be somebody there to open up the iPad with you. All you have to do is turn it on and make sure your child's name is in the account. We don't want you accidentally taking somebody else's home. So if for some reason that your child's name is not in there, then there's somebody down there to help you out with that, and we'll get you the right iPad. But I don't think it'll be a problem. Just in case, we want you to check them. If you do not have your red ticket, that means you did not have an opportunity to either accept or decline insurance, or you want to ask me questions before you do so, which is fine. So what you do is you've turned your 4 pieces of paper in, You're going to go out, then down the same steps. Instead of making a left, you're going to make a right into one of the computer labs. There'll be principals, teachers, and technicians in the computer labs. On the screen will be the insurance screen. All you have to do is fill out the information on the insurance screen. If you do not have your student's ID with you, it's down there on a piece of paper. So you put it in your information, your student's ID, and you either accept or decline the insurance, show the principal in there, and then they will give you a red ticket to go get your iPad. Okay, when you get home, please connect your iPad to your own Wi-Fi network so they have access to everything on the internet and through their apps. And again, please ensure your iPad is fully charged for your student so they can bring it in tomorrow. With that, I'm going to take about 4 or 5 minutes of big questions that may be helpful for the entire group, and then I'm going to start dismissing people into classrooms. So does anyone have a question that you think is important for the whole group?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Through that website, for your Gmail, you guys are using Google Docs and everything, is it filtering through Northfield School District at all? Like, if we want to get hold of a teacher, we have to use their NHSD. Is it filtering through, or how do you guys monitor somebody tapping into them?
Well, we do monitor all the Gmail accounts in our students and our teachers' accounts. And if you have a concern that somebody's trying to get into it or something.
The point is that you can monitor if somebody does something.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
I thought it was being filtered through your guys' system.
It is filtered through our system, correct. It's all the students counseled through our system. Thank you. Yes? How do they get turned in at the end of the year? So at the end of the year, there'll be a collection day, and you'll turn it into your teacher, and they'll check to make sure that there's no damage to it, that it works still, and then they sign off that you returned it. It's done in your child's classroom. Anything else? Yes? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Yes, that's a very good question. So when you are coming back in as a 7th grader, you won't have to sit through a parent meeting again because you've already done that, but you will be issued the exact same iPad that they got this year. They will get that as a 7th grader, yes. Anybody else? Yes?
I have an 8th grader in 6th grade, and I have one that 8th grade that
The 8th grade iPads are being distributed, I believe, next week in their social studies classrooms. Yes? These are new. Yes, in the back. Yes, you will need to purchase earbuds. Your 6th grade teachers on their class lists for supplies, I believe they had earbuds or headphones on there. They will need those for class. They should bring them in a baggie with their name written on the baggie. Anybody else? Well, if you do have additional questions, please feel free to stay and just come up to me and ask me those questions. But I am going to start dismissing. So again, I'm going to call the teacher's name. You're going to go out the door to the right. If you have a red ticket, cafeteria. If you do not, go downstairs to the computer lab. Miss Midwood, Mrs. Falsatoni, Mr. Burns, and Mrs. Carey's class. You can go downstairs at this time. Everyone else, just stay put.